What's up, team? B2 had a great question on YouTube about how do I manage resources. I play other games and the resources are more plentiful, but Call of Nations, I jump in and bam, I struggle with resources. I'm going to answer that, so stay tuned. Okay, so we started a brand new game as Canada, but I do want to give out some shouties out to my team. Sir Tony, Petter FG, President Evil, Santa Bruto 21. We've got a pretty good mix. Finland is the only oddball out and about. But I'm going to show you some stuff with resources, right? So we've got a couple things going on here. I don't want to zoom too far on the map. It's a brand new game. I don't want to give away positions, etc., etc. You know what I mean. So I'm going to look at the diplomacy. We are ranked, I don't know, we're top 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really, I don't know about the swastika thing down here. Whoa, hey now. But we do have some pretty good rankings. Most of our guys are in the top. I think Venezuela being the lowest one, but having some good movement early. I think we're going to take some cities. But I'm not going to talk about that. We want to talk about resource production. So I'm just going to look from the standpoint of Canada today. So here's the first thing that you want to look at, right? Does my country produce all 5 resources that I need, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to produce manpower. You're going to get money just based on the regions. See, that's worth 125 a day and 15 people. This one's worth 125, 15. You get the gist of that. That's a whole separate video that I've already filmed. But I want to take a look. It comes with a couple of buildings, right? So Canada has 4 harbors already. Like, I don't need to build harbors to build boats. If I look around the map, I'm going to see Vancouver has one. The rest of the cities are out here. Winnipeg does not. Calgary does not. But Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax do. Now, Quebec doesn't start as Canada, so that's your Pearl Harbor, if you will, your first move, your entry to the war. You're going to take Quebec as a homeland city. And then take over that land, so you're going to end up getting the VPs, the 123 plus 15, and the city VPs, which at this population 5 is going to be 5 VP, which is going to then translate to the leaderboard, right? So you get how that works on the leaderboard. The VPs add up, and that's where your rank is up there with 6 cities. Now, there are places that start with more cities, and if you sort it, you can see US, Russia, Germany, China, Egypt, India, Brazil, Turkey, France, Poland. They all start with 7 or more cities, right? So there's obviously, if you want to look at a very fresh game and start, you're going to want to start with the bigger places, right? They're going to give you the most resources. But if you get a mid-level country, that still doesn't mean that you're out. I'll take a hustler on a mid-level country versus an idiot on a big country any day, right? It's just common sense. But if I look at my cities, I'm going to notice that I'm doubling up on supplies, right? So B2, what does that mean? If your country has a starting advantage on the supplies, then you need to take into consideration what gets built with supplies. This number will be bigger overall, right? That means that you're going to be able to research quicker because research takes supplies, right? If I want a tank, I've got to do supplies. I want airborne infantry, motorized, mechanized infantry. If I want airborne, supplies. I want a National Guard, supplies. Do I want a battleship? Supplies. Do I want a plane? You get the gist. Supplies, supplies, supplies. So, to have a country that does 2 towns on supplies is an incredible start. The next thing that you're going to run into problems with is going to be rare materials, right? So when you start the game, you have so much money, and I could probably start a new game real quick just to show you what it's like to get moving the first round, but you'll understand the video from this one that we have going right now, right? So the very first thing that I do is I build barracks all the way down. Now, why do I do that? Because it takes so long to build. Now, my first run builds are out, so I'm going to come back through and I'm just going to build infantry on my first round builds, and I'm going to build it all the way out, right? So I'm going to run, well, I don't think I'll run out of anything on the first run, maybe if anything, supplies, but it doesn't look like it. Now, why do I do this? Because you're gonna go right for level 2 on infantry right away, so you're gonna gain strength by running this first level. Now, there are some people that use gold and make bigger jumps earlier in the game. You can see where I'm working out. I wouldn't even be able to make 2 more infantry right now. Now, the reason why I do this is very simple, because I'm going to go into my research tree, and this is going to come on day 4. I'm going to have the opportunity to to make an improvement on my basic infantry. So right here, they're a 3 and a 3-8, and they're a 2 and a 2-5 against tanks. They defend lightly against Air Force units, right? And I'm going to talk about your AA gun right after this. But so on here, if I'm going to go here to the next upgrade and hit it, I'm going to go to a 4 and a 5. So I'm basically going to get at least a 25% to 30% increase in my military just by going to level 2 on motorized infantry. Now, there are other doctrines that do get better advantages other places, like the mechanized infantry. I believe one of the doctrines does that. I'm on the European doctrine, and so that's a little bit different. I'm going to have some different advantages. I'm going to do a separate video on doctrines again, because I do get that question a lot. So back to resources. So now that I know what I'm working with, I need supplies to raise a bunch of stuff. I build this. I look for my airports, right? And I say, what is the rest of my coalition going on? And as we went through our chat, everybody kind of picked where, and I don't want to give up too much because it's a current game, but everybody picked a different area. I'm going to be going naval, or I'm going to be going air support, or I'm going to be going ground units. So that's good. It's perfect, right? Because that means I don't have to spread my research wide. I don't have to go into this tree and start getting motorized and then come down here and get tanks, and then get tank destroyers, and then go here, do AA, and then go THAAD, and then go, I need some choppers or some planes, or I need to go start researching ships, and then submarines, and like, because what'll happen is you'll be incredibly, you'll have a lot of okay units, and you'll be fighting someone that has great units, right? So, but I always recommend maxing out your infantry, because that's going to be who is defending your town. So each chance you get to boost this all the way to the end. So let's take a look from start to finish on your basic infantry. Starts at a 3 and a 3-8, and is going to end at a 6.5 and an 8-1. Like, the couple, 2, 3 of these guys in a city can usually stave off like the random people that just try to jump in, and they're super cheap and they go. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about hospitals and things too, because if you're looking to save resources and maximize, you're going to want to have a good mix of stuff. So here's what I do. I build the barracks first round. We've already said that. Then I come back and I immediately go all +1 all the way down here on the arms industry. Now, there's a reason I do that too, right? So if we pop into a city and we look at the arms industries, on the first run, it's going to give you a 10% boost. And then on the second run, it's going to give you a 20, 30, and then on the fifth, a 50. So it's basically 10% for every level. Pretty easy to understand that, right? So, so then as your city grows, it's going to increase all resources and money. The building is destroyed when conquered by another player. So, so be careful where you're building them, because if you're too close to an area that's being disputed and someone takes it, like let's say that this was the U.S. was attacking me here, and I had an arms industry. If they took this town out, bang, I would lose my arms industry. That's a big drop, right? So that's my first level stuff. Now I start to get a little bit picky with it, right? Because I'm behind on rare materials. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to build an arms industry right here, because I need to pump up this production, right? I need that to go higher and higher and higher, because I'm already running out of rare materials. And you can tell that I'm also running out of cash. I do that early game, and I do it for a specific reason, right? If I go in the market, I'm usually buying the first level of this supplies, because I run out of it quickly, and then I buy as many of these rare materials as I can, right? So you can see that's why the price is so high and there's none on there. I'll immediately go in and buy like the first stack and a half of it, maybe 2 stacks, depending on what my income is here. And I have a really high income for Canada right off. I've been in other countries that started about 350 or 300. Much harder to recoup your cash, because say I go 10 hours overnight, I'm going to come back with another 6,000 cash and be at 7,500 or so, right? So it's easy to get that cash back. Then you need to start managing resources and say, what do I need in each town? immediately you're going to need a town where you can heal troops at too, right? Where you can get people back to. But if you look, only one of my towns has an airport, and they don't have, like, I'm building the arms industry into the airport, right? So I have to make a decision. Do I build an alternate airport now, or do I just bring them all the way back to Montreal and then build a hospital in Montreal? The good thing with building the hospitals is that it's going to increase your population, and I'll show you that real quick. Let's pop off on a city here. You go to military hospital, increases the healing rate of units, and it significantly boosts population growth in a city, right? And if you look at what actually boosts growth and everything, reduces mobilization time, boosts manpower production, and building is destroyed on enemy forces. So recruiting office is also going to help you churn out some military stuff really fast. What I see people do a lot, though, is rush barracks, high-level barracks and high-level air bases to try to get more units. And this game, it's not like Call of War. It's not like some of the other mobile apps. It's a very slow-play game. It's very intentional, and so you're going to want to make the most of each building that you buy. I typically only build a hospital in one town, and I make sure there's an airport in there, and I usually make sure it's back. I will probably take my hospital to Winnipeg, and I will probably build an airport out here because it's so hard to get to. In order to get here to destroy this, you're going to have to land as naval, or you're going to have to go through all these cities back and forth, but I can just fly in there, right? So if I see anybody coming, I just simply pop my troops back to Winnipeg via the airport, and then if I run them down and they start to take damage, right? Like, this plane has damage now. It's 19-2. I went ahead and took a pot shot at the Quebec troops in advance of these infantry guys coming down because I don't want to heal the infantry. I want them to be able to one-shot that out. I can land the plane and heal that in any city that has a hospital in there. So again, I would just build an airport. I would fly it to Winnipeg, let it sit until it's healed. Now, a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people will leave units in. I don't want to, I started to open up too much of the map. A lot of people will leave units out on the board that are really hurt, but think about it. If I lose a tank, I just lost, and I can show you what it takes to build a main tank here. I just lost 1,800 components, 700 manpower, and 800 electronics, and $1,700 if that tank gets destroyed. But if I take that tank and I take it back to a hospital and I just let it heal, it means that I can't advance as fast, but it also means that I'm going to get a larger military quicker because it's going to make sure that that unit doesn't get taken off the board. Once the hit points go to 0, that unit is gone forever. You have to build another one, right? That's another 1,800 components. Now for one tank, because you had to build another one, you spent 3,600 components in here. That could be an entire day's worth of components that you just wasted because you let a tank die. Even if it's just a level 1 hospital, even if you want to make it your capital, let's say I did want to make it Quebec, for instance, or maybe Halifax, right? Because I wanted to keep some ships pumping out of the harbor. I'm going to put a hospital here. I'm going to put an airport here. I'm going to have all these ships and troops healing in Halifax, which give them a quick jump to get back out. Or I could just sail them up to Quebec and hide them in here in the inlet. Like, there's a lot of opportunities for me, but don't get your units killed. And then as you look through here, you say, okay, depending on what I need, because if I'm naval, I just need a basic level 1 barracks. I don't need level 5 barracks. I'm going to need level 3 harbors because until I need something higher to pump out an aircraft carrier. I don't think any boats require a super amount of, like, just crazy stuff, right? So let's see. This requires the naval base 2, right? The Corvette. If I look at the Horizon class of the frigate, naval 2, right? So again, you can get some decent level ships out. Naval 3, right? So that's not bad. And then let's see this cruiser, naval 4, right? So you're going to need the naval 4 to get out, and I believe that's the 5. Yep. So until you get to aircraft carrier. So you can have one town with a 4 and be pumping out a ship every day to day and a half in there. By day 20, you're sitting on, 10, 12 ships, basically, if you start at a level 1. So I would only raise this port here, this harbor in Halifax, because it's close to getting ships out, and I don't have to sail them all the way back from here. They're already ready to get out, and it's shallow water. So if I use the right combination of ships, and that's a whole other video as well, like which naval units to use in which locations, because destroyers, like, watch, I'll just a quick show you. A destroyer, if they get into shallow water, they start taking, is it shallow water? Where is it at? Cruiser, let's take that one out. They had one of the ships that actually does worse in shallow water. Where is it at? I can't remember where it's at. Or does better. Maybe it's the Corvette. Yeah, extremely vulnerable. So if the Corvette goes on the high seas, it goes minus 50 hit points. But you're going to want to get them into shallow water. Those Corvettes just patrol the coast. Extremely, extremely deadly. So I hope that answers a lot about the resource question. You just need to know your city and watch what's going up and going down, right? What's my consumption? I'm using 270 a day, but I'm making 2086 per day, so I'm in the positive, right? So if I come back down here, I can look and say, well, gosh, I'm raising resources. I've got all my units building. Let's go ahead and build an industry there. And I'm going to run the queue, see how that does. It puts it in the queue because I don't have the $3,000 yet. But hey, in 5 hours, I'm going to have the $3,000, and it's going to be able to pump that out. So actually, I'll have that in 3.5 hours, and then that building will start. Basically the fuel building will start. So that's basically how to run your resources. I know that it's not a huge revelation on stuff, but for those of you that play with Call of War or other mobile games that are quick to resources, you're going to have a harder time. If you also wanted to raise electronics, you can come in here and build a local industry, and that will raise your electronics. See, resource production 100%. So on that particular square, but it has to have the resource in here to pull it off of there. You can't just build them all over the place. In Canada, I think that's the only one. So usually most countries will have one area that'll have some sort of resource. And where's the U.S. one at? I don't see what they have. Maybe I need to get it tighter in the map. There we go. They have rare materials out here, and of course, local industry. You can see they're quick to put that in. The U.S. GG, good down. So, any questions? Hit me up in the comments. I thought that would be an appropriate video for you all. So, good luck and happy gaming.